Republican presidential candidates are plugging along the campaign trail this weekend, and one of those GOP hopefuls is former Texas Congressman Will Hurd. But Hurd, along with the rest of the field, is facing an uphill battle in catching former President Trump in the polls. Joining us tonight to talk about his campaign is presidential candidate Will Hurd. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me.
First off, let's get your thoughts on the stopgap funding bill passed just last night to avoid a government shutdown.
Well, it's crazy that some right-wing nuts in the Republican Party is preventing the rest of the party from having a actual Republican version of funding. The fact that we ended up having to work this with Democrats was probably the only way to go, and the fact that you had these Republicans not willing to work with the rest of their caucus, they're the ones that are preventing a conservative victory from happening, and they're going to make this even crazier if they move forward with these efforts to get rid of Kevin McCarthy and do this motion to vacate the chair.
I appreciate that. What do you make of Representative Matt Gaetz's moves right now to try to oust Speaker McCarthy?
Well, I love how these far-right guys want to act like they're conservatives, but in order to get rid of Kevin McCarthy, you would have to work with Democrats. So these folks that don't want to work with Democrats, you're going to do that in order to throw the House into chaos. And the reality is, this is why the American public is frustrated with Washington, D.C. Because of these antics. Most people want to see people in Washington, D.C. solve real problems. Why does it take forever for veterans to get appointments at the VA? Why does it take forever to get your passport renewed? How are we preparing to deal with this new Cold War with the Chinese government? What is the federal government doing in order to make sure robots don't take our jobs? Right? These are some of the questions we should be debating, not this nonsense that people like Matt Gaetz and his contemporaries are trying to do.
Yeah, kitchen table issues. I hear what you're saying. And notably, one of the key things not included in the bill was additional funding for Ukraine and our southern border. And Speaker McCarthy actually addressed this earlier today, saying the White House should prepare for a harder stance in the future. Let's take a quick listen together.
The one thing the White House has to understand, they better be prepared to secure American border.
What does that mean specifically? What are you looking for there?
Well, the bill you think that won't go anywhere could easily do it. H.R. 2. Remain in Mexico, finish the wall. You've got to change asylum to be able to secure this border.
So, Mr. Hurd, you actually recently wrote an op-ed detailing how you would address the border situation if elected. Are your ideas similar to what Speaker McCarthy just laid out?
Well, I think Kevin has included many of those provisions, and the reality is, look, this starts with something very simple that doesn't require Congress. The Department of Homeland Security and President Biden needs to stop treating everybody as an asylum seeker. Asylum is real. Asylum should be offered, but when you let people abuse the asylum process, those that need it are impacted. And wanting to come to America to have a good paying job is not a reason for asylum. That's why we should streamline legal immigration. This was a policy of treating everybody that comes into our country illegally as an asylum seeker. This was a policy that started under Donald Trump. Donald Trump began this humanitarian crisis, and it got significantly worse over the Biden administration. The Biden administration needs to also treat smugglers, human smugglers, drug smugglers, as the terrorist organizations that they are. We're not going to be invading Mexico. I know some of my competitors think that we can do that. We're not going to invade our number one ally and our largest trading partner, but we should be working with them to dismantle the networks that are being used to move almost 6 million people now over the last 3.5 years. These are two things that doesn't require Congress, that this administration can do today, and that's something that we need to see. And I think it also begins with President Biden realizing he needs to reboot his strategy, and he needs to fire Secretary Mayorkas and come in with a new team.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.